I did a set of interviews of musicians just to talk to them about change, how they'd experienced change in their lives. I wanted to talk to them about how they conceived of change in their life, how they processed it, because change is really at the core of all of the work that I've done around career development and entrepreneurship. It's just trying to help people figure out how can they create more of the changes that they would like in their lives. And often I'm helping people around getting unstuck, which is often where people feel like they might be in their careers. Listening hard for these conversations to see what kinds of threads of ideas could come from this that would be useful for anybody. And I ended up having sort of 3 insights that I want to offer to you guys in hopes that these might be useful to you. And the first was from one of the interviewees who talked about taking the view from 3,000 feet. What I really liked about this was he wasn't talking about 30,000 feet or 10,000 feet, which is more often what I hear. He's talking about 3,000 feet, which turns out to be about where helicopters operate. And not that I've spent a lot of time in helicopters, but if you can imagine, you know, when you're taking off in the plane or when you're coming in for a landing, that point when you can really see the cornfields and the layout of the land. So you can see like the big ticket items in the landscape, right? It's not tiny, it's not disappeared, it's not nothing. And this is the way of looking at your life, backing up from the usual fray of what we're into, the minutia, the things on our to-do list, and asking yourself, okay, what are my priorities? What do I really care about? What is it that I want to invest in, my time and my energy? And I think having a chance to step back and take a look at that 3,000-foot view is really valuable. We live in a crazy culture where we're so busy answering email and Facebooking each other. And by the way, I can see you doing that right now, those of you who are streaming. Stop it, knock it off. But what I would say is a gift to yourself to be able to back up and to take a deep breath and to hear yourself think through these things. I love it that the composer Maria Schneider talks about really turning off all of her gizmos, all of her personal devices, doing that regularly, having a certain amount of time without being plugged in every day. It's helpful for your sanity. So that's the first insight. The second one that I got from people, and I was really impressed with how they did this, no matter how painful or difficult the change that they wanted to, or that they were undergoing was, they were willing to take a very hard look at their life and weigh the pros and cons of taking action versus keeping with the status quo. So this business about realizing that inertia is a choice. If you're just tabling, if you're just saying, I'm going to get to this someday, and that's never happening, you are making a choice. So just to recognize that, to say, if I keep delaying this, I actually have, in a way, defaulted on my dream. So this is a way to stay honest as you take this hard look and weighing the pros and cons, because there's opportunity cost, right? If you decide to do this versus that. And the third thing, and I loved this piece of advice, one of the interviewees talked about a piece of advice his father had given to him at a really kind of crunch time in his life. He said, just do this one next thing that needs to be done on the project. Stop worrying about the 15 further steps that we're all afraid of. We're afraid of failure, we're afraid of the unknown, all of these things coming up. Just focus on that next thing that needs to be done. And I have to say that's at the heart of all the work that I do with musicians, trying to help them figure out what is that. Have you been procrastinating on? Why? If there is this next step, can you break it down to something manageable, right? So those are it. The 3,000-foot view, taking the hard look, weighing the pros and cons, and taking that next necessary step.